If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns find themselves in a position that has become all too familiar for their fan base, a position where questions at quarterback dominate every conversation about the future of the franchise. While some teams around the league are enjoying stability at the game's most important position, Cleveland once again appears trapped in a cycle of uncertainty and experimentation. The arrival of Dillon Gabriel, a talented and productive former Oregon star, was supposed to add competition and maybe even optimism. Alongside Shedeur Sanders, the Browns built a crowded quarterback room that looked interesting on paper, but in reality, it only highlighted how little certainty they actually have at the position. Gabriel's resume in college makes him the kind of player worth taking a chance on. But translating that potential to the NFL is a challenge that has humbled countless quarterbacks before him. The Browns know this as well as anyone. Jason Lloyd of The Athletic recently put into words what many close observers had already been suspecting. Neither Dillon Gabriel nor Shedeur Sanders appears destined to be the Browns' long-term answer at quarterback. That's a sobering thought for a team that has spent decades searching for the right guy and rarely finding him. Gabriel, with his quick release and steady presence in college, might have the skills to carve out a role in the short term, but building a franchise around him is something very different. Sanders, meanwhile, has talent and name recognition, but the staff seems far less convinced that he is ready for the responsibility. The division of practice reps has revealed where the coach's trust lies, and right now it leans toward Gabriel. Still, leaning doesn't mean believing, and the Browns' moves in the draft only reinforce the suspicion that their true future quarterback isn't even in the building yet. The decision to trade down in the most recent draft spoke volumes without the front office needing to say much at all. Instead of taking a shot on a quarterback in the first round, Cleveland chose to secure future assets, including a future first-round pick. That kind of move sends a signal that the executives and coaches are confident they have time on their side, confident enough not to force a quarterback choice in a class where they weren't convinced of the talent. It also suggests that the quarterback they really want is someone who will be available in next year's draft. That's a bold gamble, because between now and then the team must play 17 regular season games with a roster that doesn't look like it's built to wait around. For Gabriel and Sanders, that essentially means they are temporary caretakers, asked to keep the offense afloat without any guarantee of being trusted beyond this season. That reality creates an unusual dynamic in Cleveland's locker room. Players know when the organization is committed to their quarterback, and they know when the situation feels like a trial run. If teammates sense that Gabriel is only being handed the wheel until the front office drafts someone new, it changes how leadership forms within the roster. Still, this period could also be an opportunity for Gabriel. With consistent reps in practice and chances during preseason action, he can make a case that the Browns' plan doesn't need to be followed exactly as written. If he plays well, if he makes smart decisions and limits turnovers, then he might force the team to reconsider. Sanders faces a tougher road, as the coaching staff appears less convinced of his readiness, but the NFL is full of surprises. Sometimes all it takes is one injury or one breakout performance to rewrite expectations. Even with that possibility, history suggests that Cleveland fans should temper their hopes. The Browns have cycled through quarterback experiments for decades, and optimism has been crushed more often than it has been rewarded. From high draft picks that never lived up to the hype to veterans who couldn't rekindle past glory, the carousel has felt endless. Gabriel might be more polished than some of those past names, but the NFL demands more than polish. It demands adaptability, durability, and the ability to thrive under pressure against the world's best defenses. Sanders, meanwhile, must overcome not only his own inexperience, but also the perception that he is behind in the internal pecking order. Neither quarterback has the aura of inevitability that great prospects usually carry. And so, once again, the Browns are left in that uncomfortable gray area, knowing they need answers, but not yet seeing where they will come from. What complicates matters further is the division Cleveland plays in. Competing in the AFC North means going head-to-head with teams that have stable, dangerous quarterbacks. The Ravens have Lamar Jackson, the Bengals have Joe Burrow, and the Steelers are searching but never completely rebuilding. In such an environment, half measures simply don't cut it. The Browns cannot afford to stumble their way through another year with average quarterback play while rivals thrive with elite production. That makes the 2024 season less about contending for championships and more about evaluation. How does Gabriel handle the speed of the pro game? Can Sanders make enough progress to at least stay relevant in the discussion? The answers to those questions may not determine Cleveland's long-term quarterback, but they will shape how the team approaches the draft next year and what level of urgency they feel when making their choice. For fans, the waiting game can be exhausting. Browns supporters have endured false dawns before, and there is a sense of weariness that comes with hearing the same story retold year after year. Gabriel could become another chapter in that cycle, or he could be the surprise exception, the player who wasn't expected to last but somehow did. Sanders could defy the doubts and seize the moment if circumstances align. Still, betting on hope has rarely paid off in Cleveland. That's why the organization's cautious approach might actually be refreshing, even if it frustrates some in the short term. Trading down in the draft showed discipline, patience, and the recognition that forcing a quarterback pick can be far worse than waiting one more year. Whether fans want to hear it or not, the Browns may have done the right thing by resisting the temptation to rush into another mistake. Yet that patience comes with risks that shouldn't be overlooked. 17 games is a long stretch to navigate without certainty at the most important position in football. Injuries, poor performances, or locker room frustrations could turn the season into something chaotic. Head coach Kevin Stefanski and his staff will need to manage not only the quarterbacks, but also the entire roster's confidence. If Gabriel struggles and Sanders doesn't step up, players could lose faith quickly, and once that happens, recovery is difficult. The Browns need their quarterback room to provide stability, even if the long-term answer isn't present. That might mean leaning on Gabriel's leadership qualities, even if his ceiling is limited, simply to keep the offense organized and competitive. For Sanders, carving out a role as a capable backup could be the first step toward proving that he belongs in the NFL for the long haul. In the end, the Browns' quarterback conundrum isn't unique, but it is amplified by their history and by the expectations of a fan base desperate for stability. Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders represent possibilities, not promises. The coaching staff appears more comfortable with Gabriel, but even that comfort seems temporary. Jason Lloyd's report captured the essence of the situation. The Browns are already looking beyond this season, already eyeing next year's draft as the true moment where they might find a quarterback who finally breaks the cycle. Until then, Cleveland will march forward with what they have, hoping that one of their current options either surprises them or at least keeps things respectable. It's not the kind of certainty fans crave, but it is the reality of the 2024 season. Sometimes in the NFL, survival is the only goal until opportunity finally arrives. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The NFL world is buzzing with unprecedented intensity after Myles Garrett, the dominant defensive end for the Cleveland Browns, seemingly detonated a bombshell regarding Shedeur Sanders, the rising star quarterback. In what has been described as an unfiltered, no-holds-barred moment, Garrett allegedly referred to Sanders as a mediocre player, a comment that has sent shockwaves through not only the Browns' locker room, but the entire league. This statement, whether made in jest or with serious intent, has quickly ignited a flurry of speculation as fans and analysts alike scramble to dissect Garrett's words. The timing of this revelation couldn't be more explosive, coming as the Browns are in a precarious position within their division, trying to stabilize their season after a mix of high expectations and inconsistent performances. The comment has sparked debates on social media, sports talk shows, and within insider circles about both Garrett's motivations and the future of Sanders' career trajectory in Cleveland, painting a picture of tension, rivalry, and underlying power struggles. Sources close to the Browns suggest that Garrett's remarks were not taken lightly by the organization, as the team is known for cultivating a tightly knit environment where comments like these carry weight beyond mere gossip. While the exact circumstances of Garrett's statement remain murky, insiders indicate that the quarterback room, led by Sanders, has felt a ripple effect of unease. Questions now swirl about whether this public critique could influence locker room dynamics, potentially creating a divide between veterans and newcomers, or if it will serve as fuel for Sanders to elevate his game under pressure. Analysts have started comparing this scenario to previous instances where outspoken defensive stars clashed with up-and-coming quarterbacks, highlighting the fine line between competitive banter and disruptive friction within a team's internal ecosystem. Meanwhile, fans have taken to Twitter and Instagram, speculating endlessly about whether Garrett's words were intended to provoke, motivate, or simply reflect personal frustration with on-field performances. The Browns organization, notoriously cautious with public relations, has yet to release a statement, further stoking the rumor mill and leaving the entire NFL community on edge, eagerly awaiting clarification or potential fallout. The timing of Garrett's remarks couldn't be more dramatic, coinciding with a pivotal stretch of the season where every game carries championship implications. Observers have noted that Sanders, despite showing flashes of brilliance, is still navigating the complex pressures of leading an NFL team, and Garrett's comment could serve as either a wake-up call or a destabilizing force. Coaches and teammates are reportedly working overtime behind closed doors to ensure that focus and morale remain intact, aware that media scrutiny will only intensify following such a controversial declaration. The ripple effect of this statement extends beyond Cleveland, as rival teams watch closely, analyzing whether this tension could translate into on-field vulnerabilities for the Browns. Rumors have already begun circulating about potential locker room conversations, late-night strategy sessions, and heated debates on play execution, suggesting that Garrett's comment may be the spark for a broader narrative about leadership, accountability, and the sometimes volatile chemistry between quarterbacks and defensive stars in the modern NFL landscape. It's a situation ripe for analysis, speculation, and perhaps even a reckoning within Cleveland. Veteran sports journalists have weighed in, framing Garrett's comment as a potential turning point for both players' careers. The narrative being constructed across multiple media platforms suggests that Garrett's blunt assessment of Sanders could either catalyze growth or trigger conflict, depending on how the quarterback responds. The story has already transcended traditional reporting, evolving into a mix of rumor, opinion, and social commentary about competitive mentality in professional football. Experts have highlighted that such statements, though controversial, are not uncommon in a high-stakes environment where personalities clash and egos are tested on a weekly basis. Meanwhile, fans continue to debate whether Garrett's remarks were a calculated psychological tactic, an expression of frustration, or an impulsive outburst that could have long-term consequences. The Browns' internal staff reportedly convened emergency meetings to assess the potential impact on team cohesion, signaling the seriousness with which the organization is treating this unexpected controversy. Each new tidbit or whispered insight fuels the ongoing speculation, as the rumor mill shows no signs of slowing down, leaving everyone from casual fans to seasoned analysts on edge. In the context of NFL history, statements like Garrett's often become pivotal cultural touchstones, remembered not only for the content of the remark, but for the drama they generate within teams and the league at large. Some pundits have already drawn comparisons to infamous quarterback versus defensive star conflicts from the past, examining how public comments can shape narratives, influence trade discussions, or even alter team strategies. Social media platforms have exploded with clips, memes, and reaction videos, as every nuance of Garrett's tone, phrasing, and body language is analyzed frame by frame. Meanwhile, sports betting communities have reportedly started factoring this tension into projections for Browns games, considering whether off-field dynamics could translate into unpredictable on-field performance. Rumors have emerged suggesting that certain teammates may be quietly strategizing on how to mediate or leverage this situation, further complicating the delicate balance of camaraderie and competition. The atmosphere around Cleveland's franchise has transformed into a live narrative, where every interaction, gesture, or sideline conversation is scrutinized for hidden meaning or potential fallout, amplifying the drama that began with Garrett's incendiary comment. Myles Garrett himself has remained enigmatic in public statements, neither fully confirming nor denying the intensity of his comment, leaving analysts to interpret every nuance of his interviews and press appearances. This ambiguity only serves to heighten intrigue, as sports media thrives on speculation and narrative building, turning Garrett's remark into a recurring subplot in coverage of the Browns. Coaches are reportedly focusing on maintaining professionalism while simultaneously preparing for potential media storms, indicating the dual challenge of managing both athletic performance and public perception. Meanwhile, Sanders' response, or lack thereof, has become a topic of intense scrutiny, with fans and commentators dissecting his expressions, postures, and on-field decisions for signs of motivation, anger, or strategic detachment. The ripple effect of a single comment from one of the league's most fearsome pass rushers illustrates the delicate interplay between personal opinion, team dynamics, and media amplification, highlighting the modern reality where off-field words can impact reputations, game outcomes, and even career trajectories. In essence, this is no longer just a rumor. It is a multi-layered narrative with real consequences. Rumors have circulated that this exchange could influence future trades or even prompt reconsideration of starting roles within the team. While Garrett is celebrated for his dominant defensive skills and leadership qualities, his outspoken nature raises questions about his influence on younger players, including Sanders. The quarterback, meanwhile, is positioned at the intersection of emerging stardom and mounting pressure, tasked with responding to criticism while maintaining performance under the relentless gaze of media scrutiny. Analysts speculate whether this incident could foster resilience in Sanders or highlight vulnerabilities that rival teams may exploit. Within Cleveland, whispers of internal meetings, one-on-one coaching sessions, and strategic adjustments have only fueled the sense that this story is far from over. Every comment, gesture, or sideline interaction is now being scrutinized, and sports insiders have begun piecing together a timeline that suggests Garrett's words were more than casual banter. They were a potential trigger for internal friction, strategic recalibration, and perhaps a redefinition of the team hierarchy. It's a situation as dynamic as any on-field showdown, loaded with potential consequences. The broader NFL community has taken notice, with rival teams, commentators, and former players weighing in on Garrett's bold critique of Sanders. Debate rages over whether Garrett's statement reflects genuine evaluation, competitive provocation, or an attempt to shape narrative perception before key matchups. Fan forums are abuzz with theories about whether Sanders will rise to the challenge or falter under scrutiny, and analysts are dissecting past performances to determine the legitimacy of Garrett's assessment. Social media threads have exploded with polls, reaction videos, and highlight reels aimed at proving or disproving the claim of mediocrity. In locker rooms across the league, whispers of "how would you react?" echo among players and coaches alike, demonstrating how Garrett's words have transcended Cleveland, becoming a point of discussion across the NFL. The story has taken on a life of its own, fueled by speculation, rumor, and the natural appetite of fans for dramatic narratives, further elevating the tension between one of the league's most dominant defenders and a rising quarterback seeking to solidify his legacy. Insiders hint that this controversy could ultimately redefine team dynamics in Cleveland, potentially impacting how coaching decisions, roster moves, and even game plans are executed in the near future. Garrett's outspoken nature, combined with Sanders' emerging reputation, creates a volatile mix where every practice, huddle, and pre-game meeting could serve as a stage for conflict or resolution. Analysts predict that how the team navigates this tension will be critical, not only for the current season, but for the long-term development of Sanders and the stability of the Browns. Speculation abounds that behind-the-scenes diplomacy, including mediated discussions or private training sessions, is already underway, as the organization seeks to channel competitive energy into productive outcomes rather than destructive discord. Meanwhile, rival teams are closely monitoring the situation, ready to capitalize on any sign of internal unrest, emphasizing the high stakes attached to what initially seemed like a casual, albeit provocative, comment. The rumor mill continues to churn, and fans are left hanging on every detail, eager to see whether this story will culminate in drama, redemption, or an unexpected twist that reshapes perceptions of both Garrett and Sanders. Some commentators argue that Garrett's remark, whether intentional or not, underscores the evolving nature of professional football, where personality clashes and verbal sparring are nearly as impactful as touchdowns and sacks. The incident invites a larger discussion about leadership, accountability, and the psychological dimensions of competition at the highest level. Sanders, in particular, faces the challenge of maintaining confidence and focus while navigating public scrutiny, teammate opinions, and coaching expectations, a balancing act that could define his trajectory for years to come. Meanwhile, Garrett's reputation as both a fearsome competitor and a candid voice has become a double-edged sword, simultaneously commanding respect and fueling controversy. Media outlets continue to dissect every nuance, producing endless speculation, analysis, and debate. Fans remain riveted. Social media threads continue to explode with commentary, and the Browns organization must delicately manage both internal cohesion and external perception. In short, Garrett's words have sparked a narrative that extends far beyond a simple evaluation, turning into a multi-layered drama with implications for performance, morale, and the broader perception of the franchise within the NFL ecosystem. The tension between Garrett and Sanders has also reignited debates about the role of mentorship, rivalry, and accountability within modern football teams. Some argue that Garrett's blunt assessment could serve as a catalyst for Sanders to sharpen his skills, adopt greater resilience, and ultimately prove his critics wrong. Others caution that repeated public critiques risk undermining confidence, creating friction, and sowing seeds of division within the locker room. Analysts point out that how Sanders responds, both publicly and privately, will significantly influence media narratives, fan sentiment, and even coaching strategies moving forward. Meanwhile, Garrett's intentions remain a subject of intense speculation, with insiders weighing whether his comment was strategic, impulsive, or a combination of both. The Browns, aware of the high stakes, are reportedly employing measures to mitigate fallout, balancing competitive energy with team unity. What began as a single remark has evolved into an intricate web of rumor, speculation, and strategic calculation, captivating fans and insiders alike, as everyone waits to see how this unfolding drama will ultimately reshape perceptions of Cleveland's most talked-about players. As the saga continues to unfold, it's clear that Garrett's explosive comment has left an indelible mark on the Browns' season and narrative. The incident highlights the delicate interplay between outspoken talent, emerging leadership, and the intense scrutiny inherent in professional sports. Analysts continue to debate whether this controversy will ignite Sanders' growth, fracture team cohesion, or simply serve as another chapter in the colorful history of NFL rivalries. Fans and media outlets are eagerly consuming every bit of rumor, seeking clues in interviews, game footage, and social media interactions. Meanwhile, the Browns coaching staff faces the dual challenge of keeping the team focused while managing the narrative, ensuring that competitive fire is channeled productively rather than destructively. Whether this episode culminates in redemption, conflict, or unexpected reconciliation, one thing is certain. Myles Garrett's words have reverberated far beyond a casual comment, setting the stage for a season-long subplot that combines drama, rivalry, and high-stakes football. Cleveland, and the NFL at large, will be watching every move, every play, and every interaction for clues about what comes next, making this story one of the most captivating and closely monitored narratives of the year. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!